ahead and do this.
Calling the meeting to order. Moving on to 10C, report on layoffs related to the general fund budget and compensation reductions for employees. City Manager Chambers, if you are able to talk.
Yes, I am. Mayor and council members. This item is to inform you of actions I took last week to lay off 4 different positions. One of those people resigned prior to being laid off, just as a matter of circumstances that occurred for that particular employee. But 3 other full-time employees were laid off, and then the ASR outlines further positions, 13 different positions, which include 3 police officers and 1 firefighter position, some intern and seasonal positions, some parks workers, and golf seasonal, in addition to the risk manager, budget officer positions that are now going to remain vacant into the next year. And we're hopeful that those vacancies will contribute substantially to assisting us with addressing a shortfall that we estimate now will be between $1.5 million to $2 million in the general fund, possibly more. In addition to that, the process of negotiating with various units has been conducted, and we will go into closed session to discuss some of those further and can come out with announcements depending on actions that the council takes with regard to those.
I don't know if you all heard, because she was speaking very quietly, we will go into closed session to discuss compensation reductions for employees. I don't think now is the time for ideological comments about the status of the economy, but it's hitting home right now. Any further discussion on this report? Moving on. We've already taken care of new business, item 10A. Moving on to 11B. Authorize the city manager to enter into professional services agreement with Wildan Financial Services to perform a comprehensive fee and cost study and to prepare a cost allocation plan. Department Director.
Gordon Elton, Finance Director. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm very pleased to recommend a contract for cost allocation and user fee studies to the council. Those are topics that arise periodically, and you've heard staff reply that it's on our to-do list. Well, we are at the point of doing it. Cost allocation plan will deal with administrative and other costs that are allocated to a variety of budgets during the budget preparation process. The primary allocations include the city council, city clerk, city manager, city treasurer, human resources, finance, administrative support, information technology, building maintenance, utilities, insurance, purchasing, building and collection, corporation yard, and garage services. The allocation methodologies vary between the different charges, and they were developed internally over time. The concept of these allocations is the full costing of support services to those functions receiving the support. The proposed contract will produce this allocation in a structured format that can be readily updated from year to year, with the benefit of the consultant's knowledge and expertise and their work with other governmental entities doing the same type of thing, their knowledge of any rules and regulations that apply to these types of allocations as well. One of which is the federal government, which allows in most grants a fixed rate for administrative charges. In the federal rules, there are specific processes for updating the rate for overhead charges. The Office of Management and Budget publishes Circular OMB A87, as the document that these regulations are provided in. And the federal indirect cost overhead rate does exclude certain types of costs, primarily the governmental costs, like the city council cannot be included in that. So it's a different rate than the full cost rate would be. So this proposed contract includes that variation, so we'll end up with two different allocation rates. The user fee study portion of it will incorporate the cost allocation services, and the study will look at user fees and utilize the results in establishing a full costing for services. So we'll have a good idea of what the costs of providing different services are. The scope of the contracts for review allows for review of all user fees, and charges that are not included as user fees are the taxes, fines, rental fees, utility rates, development impact fees, and penalties. And one other exclusion is currently the building permit fees are based on valuation, and many cities have converted that to a cost of providing the various services related to a building permit. But that will not be included in this study. That's a more extensive study that they would look at as a separate project all by itself. Both plans will produce a model that staff can update periodically in the future, and the federal overhead rate actually is required to be updated annually. And while these studies will require time from many staff at a very busy time of the year, staff believe that the benefits will be well worthwhile, and we ask the council to take the recommended actions. I'll be happy to answer any other questions you have.
One item I wanted to add to that presentation